Weather Echo. The topic today, where is the monsoon? Has the monsoon missed the West? Is the monsoon occurring in Northern California? Will we get the monsoon? Let's take a look at what's been going on and what is expected. If we look from space, satellite, this tells the story on July 30th. The tropics, very obvious, deep tropical moisture, not hurricanes per se, but the red is very moist atmosphere. And if we look up into Florida, we can see moisture coming through the Gulf into eastern United States, continuing to feed the showers and thunderstorms in that area. Now, what's going on in the west? Dry over the Great Basin. Why? The arrow points to a suppressed monsoon. So the moisture is not making it up from Mexico as it normally does this time of year. Now, there is moisture across the Pacific. What is that? It is an atmospheric river, weak, but it's bringing moisture into Northern California. So, Northern California is seeing showers and thunderstorms, but it's not the monsoon. Okay, percent of average precipitation. This is a 30-year average compared to normal. Really dry signature in July so far for most of California, Great Basin, and Pacific Northwest. Look how wet it's been already, where showers and thunderstorms are not even included in this. They're occurring today, and you can see how wet it's been in Northern California. Now, temperature-wise, it's been cooler across most of California, unusual because we've seen a lot of hot Julys, including last year. Now, though warmer than average has been pressed northward in the Pacific Northwest. Across the lower 48, you can see on the left-hand side precipitation, very wet in Texas. Remember the devastating floods. But a lot of areas of showers and thunderstorms from the Mid-Atlantic region through the Ohio Valley, Central Plains, all the way up to the Canadian border. Really dry conditions across the Great Basin and Southwest California. Now, temperature-wise, you can see Texas shows up as cool, California as well, and much warmer than average across most of the east. So that's where the hot weather's been. Now, if we go back to June through July, we can see the warm conditions existed even back in June. Much warmer than average for the Northwest and Northeast. Really much of the West and even much of the East, with the cool pockets being California and the lower plains. Now, for precipitation, it's been very dry out west. That shows up very well here. All the west, especially the Great Basin and California. Areas that should have seen some precipitation, and certainly the monsoon, and it's just been very spotty with pockets of thunderstorms in Arizona and New Mexico. Now, keep an eye on the area that is shown here in green where the wet conditions have met in the eastern part of the United States. That area has been a magnet for two different wind flows coming from the east and coming from northern Canada. Upper level ridge has been dominant in that area. Not the Bermuda High, but upper level ridge focused in that area. Blocking upper ridge, yes, blocking the jet stream, pushing it to the north with a split over eastern Pacific. So that's caused really dry conditions in the Pacific Northwest. But look at that little arrow that's squeezed through. That's kept the dry conditions, prevented the monsoon, but also providing the energy for some storms, thunderstorms over Northern California. So the pattern, not typical for what we see in July. Will it change? Well, we've got some changes going on. So the heat dome in the east that's brought record-breaking temperatures, muggy conditions, is going to weaken as a cold front moves across northeast United States. Now, we're continued to see that westerly flow, unusually far south across the west and California. So the upper ridge is expected to expand across Southern California, but it's not going to be able to go very far north. So it's going to be temporary warming conditions into early August for the Southwest. If we look after August 4th through August 6th, we see it gets knocked down again as an unusual trough moves across Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. That suppresses the heat dome. It weakens. But after that, it looks like the heat dome will be allowed to rebuild as the westerlies or the white line jet stream finally relaxes up into southern Canada. All right, after August 7th, some big changes are possible. Moisture, well, it could take some time, but the upper ridge will now be allowed to go over its normal climatological position of the Four Corners or the Southwest region, and strong. So that brings heat to the west, all the way up to the Pacific Northwest, but it also sets up that southeast flow that should eventually bring some monsoon moisture as we go into the middle of August. So changes are happening. They're taking their time, which is typical this time of year with weak wind flow, but changes are happening. We'll also have to watch the tropics in the Eastern Pacific. That white arrow typically will steer tropical cyclones offshore in the Pacific from east to west. But there's a little bit of a bend in it, so depending on where that upper ridge heat dome sets up, we'll have to watch some tropical moisture getting entrained in the middle of August from the Eastern Pacific. All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. Here is some information about me and other sources. We also post a blog several times a week. We've got some information on there about the recent tsunami and also about the lack of the monsoon. So be sure to check out Weather Echo on social media and our blog on our webpage for more details. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.